Welcome to another Full Throttle Thursday. Appreciate y'all being with me. Wanted to kind of talk about something that I think is pretty important. John G. Roberts Jr. is, of course, the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. He is also the person who I call and have called for years the godfather of the deep state, the weaponization of the deep state, excuse me, and that started under him. Now, the story is, and I've played it for you many years ago, when he was doing the vote on Obamacare, or the Unaffordable Careless Act, as I call it, he was a no vote, solid no vote. And at the last minute, he switched his vote. Now, the reason he switched his vote is because James Clapper and John Brennan basically blackmailed him from the request of Barack Obama. And the reason they did this is because they knew they had something over him. What they had over him was the fact that he had an illegal adoption. He used Ireland's adoption rules to circumvent America's adoption. Him and his wife were having problems conceiving children, and they didn't want to go through the normal channels of waiting in America. So because he has ties to Ireland, he's got a home in Ireland, he's got businesses in Ireland, he circumvented America and he went directly to Ireland, and he adopted a little boy and a little girl. Now, at the time, the New York Times was getting ready to run a full-blown story on it, and it would have ruined him. And who knows, maybe they would have even tried to get him off the bench. Who knows? I don't know. But at that point, what happened was Barack Obama called a special meeting with him, brought him into the Oval Office, sat him down and said, look, I need your vote on Obamacare. And of course, he said, no, it's not legal. The mandate is not legal. I can't do it. And he said, okay, fine. He goes, let me play something for you. And he played the blackmail tape of John Brennan and James Clapper blackmailing him into the fact that now they know for a fact that he circumvented American law and he went to Ireland to adopt his two children. So Barack Obama just kind of sat there and said, look, you have a choice. You either give us the vote that we need to pass the Unaffordable Careless Act, or this goes public tomorrow morning. And that was a bridge apparently too far. So the reason I say that is because we have had the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court compromised pretty much since day one. And here's what's also interesting. He was never supposed to be the Chief Justice. As a matter of fact, during George W. Bush's first term, William Rehnquist was the Chief Justice. He died suddenly in the beginning of George W. Bush's term. So what happened? Well, first, George W. Bush, like an idiot, tried to put Harriet Miers, who was like his chief of staff, on the Supreme Court. And of course, there was a huge backlash from the right saying, hell no, not a chance in hell, you're not doing that. So from that, they settled on Roberts. But instead of making Roberts an associate justice, like Samuel Alito at the time, they instead moved him up to William Rehnquist's position. So in other words, he was supposed to be an associate justice, but instead became Chief Justice because William Rehnquist passed away. Well, as I've said before, and it's in Preserving Liberty, so I'm not telling you anything new. If you haven't read the book, it is. But who appoints every single judge on the bench for the FISA court? It is the Chief Justice, John G. Roberts Jr. The reason I call him the weaponization of the administrative state's godfather is because those FISA court judges have all been linked to the Carter Page warrants, spying on George Papadopoulos, the entire Russia collusion garbage. And one of the main people is now in the news today, and his name is Judge Boasberg. Well, how did Judge Boasberg get on the FISA court? John G. Roberts. So John G. Roberts is a problem, okay? He is an infiltrator and a problem for the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, there's a new story out right now Chief Justice John Roberts caught in a secretive, invite-only club for elite judges and lawyers. Some of those judges include Boasberg, Beryl Howell, another one that's going after President Trump and trying to usurp his power as well. Amit Mehta, same exact thing. He has issued numerous injunctions against President Trump and his administration. And oh, by the way, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is also, sadly, on the Supreme Court. The secretive club, America Inns of Court, also includes the radical America-hating judge James Boasberg, Howell, Brown Jackson, Amit Mehta, all hard-left judges and Trump haters. John Roberts has been Chief Justice of the Supreme Court since September of 2005. What in the world is he doing fraternizing in a secret group with these far-left colleagues? So I wanted to bring this to people's attention because we have to understand that right now, these judges that are doing this, and again, 127 injunctions in 2 months. I mean, that's unheard of. You know, they did 64 against Trump, which was the most in history in his first term. And now they have 127 already in 2 months. Okay, so what they're doing is a shock and awe campaign against President Trump from every single angle. And of course, the reason we can't get these other people put in jail that need to be put in jail, which we're going to talk about, Letitia James in a little bit, these people that need to be put in jail, they don't have the resources, the manpower, or even the time because they're constantly fighting appeals against all of these judges. Now, if he is a constitutionalist, which for the most part he has been, but not always. I mean, look at Texas versus Pennsylvania. There was standing there. You had 18 states. Of course, there was standing. It affected all 18 states when you steal an election. But he said no. And he said, no, there was no standing. He was the main person. Why? Well, because he hates President Trump. So the Chief Justice of the United States is working to undermine the President of the United States. And I think people need to recognize that and know that. Because these judges, including some of the Supreme Court judges, need to go. Now, Elon Musk has said that he's willing to put a lot of money in the coffers of these House Republicans in particular and Senate Republicans if they vote to impeach these judges. Now, Brandon Gill and Eli Crane right now are working on legislation in which they're not going to just go after one judge. There's right now, from what I count, 27 judges that are going to be put into this piece of legislation. Now, is it going to pass? Well, that's the question. Right now, the Freedom Caucus is on board. There's a lot of Republicans on board. But we have to understand, with a thin majority, there's a lot of rhinos, sadly, still there. And the worst part about what is happening right now is, as I've said before, a lot of what is happening is done, through AstroTurf. It's executive order, right? I mean, look, the Department of Education shutting down today. Well, sorry, that has to go through Congress. So what can he do? Well, he can deplete the Department of Education to a point where there's nobody in there, put a padlock on the door for the next 4 years. But then, of course, whoever wins 4 years from now, God forbid a Democrat, well, they can just reopen it all up again. So that's why I'm saying a lot of this stuff we need to make permanent. And that, I think, is where Elon Musk comes in. He's the only one. It's not President Trump. It's not the Senate, and it's not the House. It is Elon Musk. Why? Well, because he has all the money in the world, regardless of what's happening with Tesla. I mean, he's got SpaceX. He's got robots coming out. Hell, Howard Lutnick was on, what's his name? Waters' show the other night. And he said that households are going to have $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 personal robots running around by 2029, doing all their stuff, cleaning their homes and all this. You remember the movie Rocky III with Mr. T? I'm going way back here. There was a scene in the movie where Rocky was obviously wealthy and all that. He had this robot that was running around the house, cleaning everything and all that. And I saw that back then, and I was just a kid, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. That'll never be. Well, guess what? Here we are within the next 3 to 4 years, and they're all going to be SpaceX robots. So whatever they're doing to Elon is not going to affect him financially. He's not going anywhere. He's not going bankrupt. He's not losing any money. The guy is loaded, and all he keeps doing is creating more and more revenue streams for himself. But I'm off tangent here. So the bottom line is he needs to be the enforcer. I have tried to reach out to him. I've tried to reach out to people that know him. I can't get a hold of him. So I'm going to continue, but you as well. I want people to, go on X. If you see something that I'm writing about that has to do with, with Elon Musk or anything like that, or Tesla, send it to him. Someone has to wake up. Just the other day, I got a pretty big person to follow me back, a guy by the name of Gunther Eagleman. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him, but he's got like 1.4 million people that follow him. And so I'm trying to get through with him because I believe Elon follows him as well. And so, I'm working on trying to open up some of these avenues because I need to get a hold of him. He needs to hear certain things. And so that's kind of what I've been working on right now. But my thing is this. Right now, Pam Bondi has arrested at least 3 of these fruitcakes that are torching Tesla dealerships and things like that. And they're looking at hard time. They're looking as much as 20 years in jail. Now, today, I actually attacked Jasmine Crockett directly to her face, okay? I sent it out to some of you. I called her a hood rat skank, okay? Right to her face. And I said she should be not only removed from Congress, but she should be prosecuted and arrested because she is now actively supporting the Tesla takedown. There are images of her and video of her involved with it, talking about it, even saying that for her birthday, I think on March 29th or something, that all she wants is for Tesla to be taken down. I'm sorry, but she's a domestic terrorist. This is not censure. This is not a slap on the wrist. This woman needs to be removed from Congress. And so I reached out, and I sent it to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and the FBI and Dan Bongino and all the people that could possibly do something about it. We'll see what happens. Not just me. There was about 30 or 40 other conservatives out there that were doing the same thing. So there's no question that they know about it. But what is going to be done about it? I don't know. I don't know at this point. But the Tesla takedowns, they're supposed to do another thing on the end of March. 500 different protests, violent protests against these dealerships. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if, Pam Bondi is aware of all of this, but this needs to be shut down. And what they're doing right now is they've arrested 3 of them, but hopefully they're going to arrest a hell of a lot more because it's not just those 3. I saw a video of some old dude taking his hand and shoving it up his ass crack and wiping it on a Cybertruck. I mean, these people are demonic. They are demonic and they are evil. And that's really only thing that you can really say about them. So let me start with who was number 1, Glenn, and then Liam, and then Carl. Glenn, you've seen the reports, you've seen the fires and the fire bombings of all these different things going on. What do you think is going to happen? Is this going to continue on, or is the Attorney General going to start cracking down on these people, putting these people in jail, which will then ultimately make them think otherwise? What are your thoughts?
I would bypass the Attorney General, the DOJ, and all the rest of those. And the one that comes to mind is Kyle Rittenhouse. Put him out there. All you got to do is smoke a couple of them and they're done. They'll run. They'll scatter like, cockroaches when light comes on. That's the way that you have to take care of them. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was definitely a little bit of a different answer, but that's okay. Look, I thought about organizing some type of counter protest where we actually send people to these dealerships armed, standing outside of these Tesla dealerships across the country and say, hey, enough is enough. We're not going to do this anymore. Just like what we had to do with the drop boxes, right? To keep them from stealing. I was part of that in Arizona and elsewhere where we were putting people out there that were armed, that were basically protecting these drop boxes.
But so, that's what I meant by Kyle Rittenhouse being there,
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna
yeah.
be but it would be, I mean, if it takes a 40, 50 of them to go out.
Exactly. Yeah, look, I'm not going to say that that wouldn't be effective. Legality wise, it might be an issue, but look, at this point, we have to protect these dealerships. It's not fair to these privately owned dealerships to be firebombed. It's not fair to these Tesla owners that, are not only on lists being doxxed, but more importantly, they're scared for their life and it's dropping the value of the car. It's dropping the stock, of course. You've got this tampon Tim running around saying, "Oh, I'm looking at my Tesla stock and it's going down." They're cheering for an American company to go down. That's how evil these people are. So,
Uh, but there's a lot of states that have stand your ground. So if
they
there's
do. Florida, of course, Texas. Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
someone attacking that company, then they have every right in the world to protect it.
Yep. Okay. Let me get to everybody else. So, Liam, what are your thoughts here? Do you think that these Tesla takedown protests are going to continue? Let's say we'll just give it a date past April 15th, or do you think because they're going to start jailing these people and rounding them up that they're going to think twice and they're going to stop?
That's an excellent question. I mean, that was a lot to unpack there in the first place. I don't like to be on the pessimistic side, but since we haven't seen too much action against these deep staters, I think we are going to see, like for example, Trump's presidency, they're still getting emotion, and we haven't seen the deep staters being attacked yet. So I'm not really going to say that these violent anti-Tesla freaks are going to stop doing what they're doing. Maybe we can do some things to slow them down and scare them off. But if you think of the Summer of Love, right? I think there was a law that was signed into place saying if you take down a statue, 10 years in prison, if I'm understanding correctly. I mean, it seemed to have slowed it down a little bit, but it wasn't perfect. So,
Well, the difference though in 2020 is we had a stolen election, which means we had a stolen, Department of Justice, we had a stolen FBI. I mean, it was all weaponized against us, so they were going to be able to get away with anything. Now we've got an FBI that is not weaponized against us. We've got an Attorney General and a Department of Justice that is also the same way. So I'm more optimistic, at least cautiously optimistic, that I think that these people are going to be held accountable, and perhaps that'll be a good deterrent for future offenders.
well, let's just bring it on. And if you want to come take down American companies, let's put you in jail.
Exactly. Okay. So we got Jeff and then Walter and then Carol. So Jeff, what are your thoughts on this? Do I mean, obviously you're seeing it in the news, right? In Australia, they're talking about the Tesla takedowns and the violent protests. I know because I've seen it on Lefties Losing It, and I've seen it Sky News and a bunch of others. So what are your thoughts from around the world?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of the news. Well, I've been very busy the last few days. Look, there's got to be. I don't have any solution at the moment, but by crockies, they've got to do something. They've got to be proactive and put a few things in place. I mean, you can go from the ridiculous of Elon surrounding some of the dealers with his robots to just getting private citizens to protect the places. But at the end of the day, they are private businesses, and it's up to them to provide their own security, I think. Legally, I think somebody needs to do some hard work and look for some legal, lawful solutions to stop, dissuade, and or apprehend these idiots.
Gotcha. Well, that leads us right into the legal mind here. So, Walter, what are your thoughts from a legal standpoint? What can be done? Obviously, the Attorney General is doing what they can do, but what can state attorney generals do and state prosecutors do and things like that? Or is this going to be a federal issue based on, anti-terrorism domestic acts?
It doesn't have to be just federal. I mean, state should definitely get involved if they're of the right motivation. In fact, it should be more state than federal. The federal government really shouldn't have much to do with, well, The riots may be local, but they're organized on a federal level. I think the feds should concentrate more on identifying who is responsible for it and start tracking back to the source and back to the money. And the federal and the state law enforcement should concentrate on the ground, taking care of the property and the people who are on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a combination, is what it should be.
Right. But you literally have a Democrat member of Congress that is working on antagonizing and organizing and strategizing and is actually on these Tesla takedown calls. They're in these Zoom calls talking about this stuff. You have a member of Congress. I mean, it's beyond the pale. I mean, this is not a censure thing. This is not, a slap on the wrist. This person needs to be removed from Congress and they need to be prosecuted just like anybody, else out there that's doing these types of acts. It's interesting that the Department of Justice has now created a SWAT team. And I use that word exactly what you mean it to be. A SWAT team, as in to stop the people that are swatting conservatives. They now have 10 prosecutors that are involved in just going after those types of people. So my thought is, okay, well, that's wonderful. Why not do the same thing for the Tesla? Are they doing it? Maybe they're going to announce that they're going to have a Tesla takedown force, next week. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But it seems like they need to, because this is crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And then, of course, doxing all of these people, even the people that are on the left that hate Elon Musk are pissed because they were doxed on these lists. So we'll see what happens. Carol,
What you
go ahead.
What you need to remember, Josh, no matter what happens, the Department of Justice is located in DC. So anything they're going to do out of the head of the Department of Justice is within the jurisdiction of an extremely corrupted court system. So they would be wiser to operate out of their Department of Justice offices in other locations.
In other locations, right. So centralize it to the different regions, basically, and head the task force up in those areas.
Or maybe even transfer all the levers of power in the DOJ to a red state. Have them operate out of the DOJ office in a red state.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I don't know, maybe you know the answer to this, can a state prosecutor use federal domestic terrorism charges, or does that have to come from the federal government and the Department of Justice?
It does not.
It does not.
State prosecutors can prosecute under federal or state law.
Okay, perfect. Well, there you go. That's why you're the lawyer and I'm not. Okay, so Carol, what are your thoughts here on all of this? I mean, is this going to continue on and on and on, or do you feel like they're going to crack down and stop all this stuff?
They're going to have to. I don't know. Y'all talking about SWAT teams, or I don't know what they need to do, but they need to. I like everything that Scott said, because, from a legal they need to do everything legally they can, use every tool in the toolbox. This is ridiculous. And like you said about that, these people are wishing for the downfall of an American company. Well, you're un-American. Well, and the only reason they don't like Elon Musk is he supports Trump. I mean, they would love him if he was a liberal. It's stupid, it's petty, and they're ridiculous.
Yeah, it truly is. And, and here's the other part of this. I think that, these people, whether they're legal citizens or not, I think they should be not only just arrested and prosecuted, I think they should be deported. I think they should lose their American, citizenship just based on the fact that they're going after an American company. Now, I understand that's way too far, and most people would think I'm crazy for even saying that, but I'm just saying from my standpoint, that's what I would love to see happen. So who knows? Carl, where are you? Did we not get you? I'm sorry, Carl. How did we miss you, buddy? The man of many words. Go ahead, Carl. What are your thoughts on it?
I saw a video. I don't remember, is Benny Johnson or Turley, Dr. Steve Turley. They're talking about there's like several extreme leftist organizations
Mhm.
that these people are connected to that have been doing these Tesla attacks. They're have connection to you know who.
Yep, George
Soros.
Soros.
Yeah,
I talked about it
George
last
Soros.
night on last night's show. I broke it all down. I went through all of the different companies and organizations, from the Democrat Socialists of America to the Indivisible Group to
Yeah. Okay.
um,
Everybody's talking about that.
yeah, yeah. So a lot, and of course, you know, the what's her name, Jurgovitz or whatever, the ex-wife of someone that's close to Elon, spent $500 million funding this
Yeah.
stuff. You know, I said last night, Pam Bondi has said that she was going to go after the funders. So she's on record, and we need to hold her accountable to go after the funders. So if she's saying that, then that means that she will go after George Soros. She will go after this woman. She will go after whoever else is out there that is funding this stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, she opened up her mouth and she put her foot in it. And so we've got to make sure that she's actually going to do that. And by the way, something that broke late last night, I didn't get a chance to cover, was Modi in India raided the Open Society Institute, their location in India. They raided it yesterday. So they're on to Soros. We know he's been kicked out of so many countries, right? Russia, Hungary, I don't know. There's been a couple others in Europe because of currency manipulation and, you know, tanking their stock markets. And he's a bad, bad person. Of course, he's now like 318 years old or whatever, and his kid Alexander is running everything. But again, they need to go after Soros, his money. They need to vanquish the entire Open Society Institute from the face of this earth. Act Blue is also involved in this, and I think Act Blue is going away. I truly do, because there is a huge investigation going on with them. So, you know, justice takes time, sadly. You know, we want it like that. We want it instantly, but it doesn't always happen that way. As long as it happens, you know, even if it takes a while. Pam,
Josh.
yeah, good.
Yeah. What was that in the comment? You know, your explanation. You said something about what was it? Pam Bernstein.
No, I didn't say anything about Bernstein.
It said Pam.
Where? When? No, I said Jerkovich or whatever it was
Well,
the name.
in your explanation of the video, you're talking about Pam Bondi. Then later you say Pam Bernstein. Huh? What?
I said Pam Bernstein?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember saying that. I said Pam Bondi.
You typed it in your explanation.
I did?
Yeah,
All right, I'm
you
gonna have to go back. I was tired last night, so it's possible. You know,
We're gonna have to drug test you, Josh.
we're gonna have to drug test me. That's it. Let me take a look. I'm gonna look right now. I got the
I was
other
wondering
laptop.
I was wondering if you said that because she sounds like a badass just like you.
Well, I don't know. Here, let me see. Naming names. This one from yesterday? I might have said it. Who knows?
Is this the last one you put out?
Okay, I'm looking for it right now. Let me see if it says it. Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
Oh,
A little bit later.
you're right. I did. Wow, look at you guys. Good job. Yes, that was obviously a mistake. You know, I put a video out years ago, and I was talking about John Roberts, and in the video I was talking about private adoptions, and at one point I say private abortions. So yes, I do make mistakes. I am not perfect as much as maybe some of you think I am. I'm certainly not.
We're not
All right. So wait, I
perfect.
didn't get to a couple of the people, so that's not fair. So let's go back here. So
Okay.
Pam, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Hi. Okay, did you want
Hello.
to say something?
I did write
Oh,
Pam Bernstein. I'm an idiot. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm reading a report that Tesla owners are alarmed by a website called Doge Quest listing their personal information so people can attack them and burn up their cars.
Yeah, and I looked at her. Let me do it again because I did it yesterday. Let me see here. DOGEQUEST.com. Let's see if it's up. Nope. Doge, it's DogeQuest, correct? .com? Right? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it says this domain is registered and may still be available, but there's no, it says GoDaddy, there's nothing on the site. So I'm wondering if maybe it was taken down already. I don't know for sure, but I'm just showing you what I see here. You can do it yourself. Just go to DogeQuest.com and you'll see for yourself. It says this domain is registered and may still be available. So I don't know if anyone else can see what I just see, unless somehow it's just for me and no one else. Right?
You gotta come over here.
Is anyone seeing a website or not? Because I am curious about that. And then who was the last person here? Little Mystery. Little Mystery, what do you think? Huh? You think these protests are going to get worse, or they're going to stop altogether once they start jailing these idiots?
I think these idiots are far too stupid to just stop. After all, if someone's going to dig in their ass to smear shit on a car, they're pretty stupid to keep doing their stupid little protests.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm looking at the fact that a friend of mine was thrown in jail. He used to have a YouTube channel. He was thrown in jail just for exposing the fact that Michelle about Big Mike being a dude. They claimed he was a terrorist. So there's no reason why they can't go after the people that are protesting against Tesla the way they are. Plus, there's the fact that they have so much help with Tesla being able to just have cameras all over it to, monitor the people that are doing these things.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The Sentry program that's built into all of these Teslas, it videotapes, it records everything.
Absolutely everything.
You're so stupid. I mean, it's like committing a crime on Ring. It's the same thing, basically.
And so I just really, I'm kind of baffled about their sudden hatred towards Elon, just like the Hollywood used to love Trump and so he became Republican. They were basically, it's horrible, but they were basically sucking Elon's South African hairy balls. They thought he wanted to save the planet and all that crap. And how is setting these cars on fire saving the planet when they know damn well that the batteries...
Especially lithium. Lithium is like the worst thing you can put into the atmosphere.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because like people like me have always been skeptical of Elon Musk, the whole, Neuralink thing and all these different things. And when he bought Twitter, I was really skeptical because I looked at all the investors. Out of 18, 3 of them were Chinese CCP, people. And I was like, what the hell, But he's actually kind of turned into, at least at this point, America first. And he's been somebody that has really been good, not just for Trump, but, even for the country. I mean, he's done a lot of great things. He's just rescued the astronauts, but yet he's what? If Trump is Hitler, he's what? Joseph Goebbels, maybe, or Joseph Mengele. I mean, it's so sick and so twisted that it's just changed. But you know what it does show? It shows the hypocrisy and the fact of the fakeness of the left. They have never been about the environment. Never. It's never been about that. It's been about power and about control. And if it was about the environment, they would not be lighting on fire Teslas regardless of who makes them. That would be what I would say on that. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. I thought that was pretty important. The other thing I want to kind of discuss here is what I consider a nothing burger. And that's just my opinion. Maybe other people think differently, but these JFK files, I mean, it reminded me of these people that were running around with the binders of the old stuff from Epstein. Like, what? Seriously, where was LBJ? Where was, Ruth Payne? Where was Malcolm Mac Wallace? Where was all these different people that have been part of this entire thing for so many years? So, Little Mystery, I'm actually going to start with you and go backwards. What were your thoughts on the JFK files, and what, if anything, did you learn from it?
Okay, I can't talk right now. I'm inside of a restaurant. I'm
Oh, are you? Okay. That's fine. So I'll go to Pam and Jeff. Did you learn anything new at all from the JFK files at all?
Well, Chris Street reported on it and said there's really, like you said, not much there except for it claims to confirm that Oswald never worked for the KGB. That's about the only real conclusion he said you could draw from it.
So far, he hasn't gone through everything. No, he writes for Substack. He has the Mountaintop Times. So if you want to look up Chris Street, and then
But there's a lot more pages to go.
yeah, Monkey Works said that he thought for sure Dulles would be behind it somehow, that it would come out.
Alan Dulles,
Yeah.
CIA director at the time. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Roger Stone said, I was, just going back and forth with him. He said, why didn't they talk about in the car? Okay, the car that he was killed in. They didn't talk about the fact that they didn't rip out the seats. They didn't do any forensic evidence. They didn't hold it. Instead, they went and they cleaned the car. Did you know that? They cleaned the car that he was killed in within hours afterwards. So again, I mean, it's just crazy that so much stuff. And again, I don't believe this is all the documents. No way. And the reason I say that is because right before they were going to come out in the morning, there were DOJ lawyers that got involved, stopped it, and they took 500 to 700 pages and they reviewed them, quote unquote, before they released the quote, all of the documents. I'm telling you, there are thousands upon thousands of extra documents still out there. Carol, what did you learn, if anything at all, new from the JFK files?
I didn't really read anything. I just only listened to what you had said about it. So, but my kind of issue with it is I think everybody knows now it's looking like it was an inside job. We've all been lied to. There's been some dirty deals behind some dirty doors and some files hidden, whatever. But it doesn't seem like most people care. That's to me, that's big. It's like America's still just going on and doing whatever, and it should be a little more alarming.
Right.
Why is it not? What's wrong? It seems like no one.
Well, I think I can answer that.
But all of us. It's like
I can answer it very simple. 62 years. Simple as that. It was 62 years ago. It's a long time ago. If this was coming out 3 years after the assassination, it'd be 24/7. People would be around. I mean, it'd be everywhere. But 62 years, they've hid this from the American people. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The American people cannot handle the fact that a sitting president was assassinated by his vice president with the help of the CIA. If you really want to go there, that's what I would say happened. And they are going to hide that till the end of time because they cannot allow the American people in mass droves to know that that happened. And I would put anything and everything on the fact that that is exactly what happened. Never forget, and I talked about it the other night, when they brought Lee Harvey Oswald out into the Dallas Police Department before he was shot by Jack Ruby so he couldn't talk, he said, "I didn't do this, I'm a patsy." He said that. That is in the federal records. There is audio recording, there is video recording of him saying, "I am a patsy." So I agree that he was indeed a patsy. Walter, what about you? Did you learn anything new from these JFK files, or did it just solidify what you already thought you knew?
I learned some new stuff from your show about the woman. I don't remember her name. I know you just said it.
Ruth and Michael Payne?
Yeah, it sounds like they were very deeply involved in the CIA. What I want to know is, has anybody served her with a search warrant to see what she might have, document-wise, photograph-wise?
And she's 93. She's alive right now, today. She's alive. She's probably one of the only people that is alive, honestly, at this point. So I wonder if she's going to mysteriously die in the next few days. But
no, but that's really good because we can get our 50 ATF FBI guys out there with full auto weapons and drag her out of her house at 4 in the morning and all that fun stuff. But seriously, she's got to have something. I mean,
Yeah.
if she was that involved, she's got to have something to protect her own behind. So
Yeah,
they
and the
already,
thing is that if she's known all these years, and
they ought to
that's even
send
more frightening.
somebody out there to talk to her and then serve her with a search warrant and gently search her property, see what she has, because I think she's going to have something that's going to be like bombshell big.
Yeah, Roger was telling me that there's a book out there called The Assassination of JFK and Ruth Paine. I think that's the actual title of the book. And he said, if you read that, it'll blow your mind because he stayed with Ruth and Michael Paine for 9 months. And apparently, from what I gather, they were close to him and Marina, his wife, and I think Oswald was like living in their garage or something above the garage, a room above the garage. And they said that the quote unquote rifle, which by the way, the KGB guy said he's a terrible shot, right? But they said that his rifle was found in her house. Well, why would that be? Just because he was living there, maybe? I mean, plausible deniability here. Plus, Michael Paine, if you looked at the thumbnail from the other video that I put out, I tried to blow it up as big as I could. Michael Paine and Lee Harvey Oswald are very, very similar in the way they look, their facial features and things like that. So who knows? Maybe he did it and they blamed it on Oswald. You just don't know. So I didn't really learn much of anything. Jeff, what about you? Did you learn anything new from the JFK files? You're muted, buddy. You're pulling a Carl.
I'm back.
There you go.
Okay. Excuse me. As I mentioned, I've been really busy with these renovations and stuff going on, but I have noticed a couple of connections in the documents to Australia. Exactly what they mean, I don't know, so I won't comment on them yet, because I do need to go back and review them. Excuse me. But on the last part about what you were saying about the pains, yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with that. And I do imagine that there would be some evidence somewhere tucked or secured somewhere for their own personal protection. But whether you can find it or not, who knows? At 93, the deep state's going to say, oh, you're picking on an old person and all of that stuff. But you can still be mentally very, very sharp at 93.
Right.
So I think your words where you said gently, I think it was you or someone else said gently go in and have a look and see what you can find and do some search warrants and stuff. I think gently is the correct way so that we just don't look like the bad guys. But yeah, look, the whole thing is a complete and utter mess. And I'd like to finish by saying, look, conspiracy theories, mate, we're batting 100 out of 100, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I already told you where that came from, right? Conspiracy theory came from the CIA. They created that to basically attack anyone that didn't agree with the official narrative of the Warren Commission.
Yes, and if I could just briefly, because I'm 67 now, and I was alive, and I remember when the assassination happened. We had no television; it was broadcast over the radio. I was at home with my mum because I started school at 4, so being a Catholic, but I was at home with mum, and I can remember my mum breaking down and crying and so on, and listening to all the news, and I understood it. Even though I was very young, but I do have a very, very good long-term memory. And one of the problems is you see a lot of people that actually went through and experienced all of this, they're dead and gone. They're caught up in their maintaining their life and trying to build their life while the government's tax and tax us to death and run roughshod.
Mhm.
Try and keep us busy our whole lives to try and exist so that we don't have time to think about other things. So
Yeah.
speaking recently to some young people, they have no idea. Even
Right,
people in their
exactly.
40s,
Yeah.
they have no idea at all about any of this history. And therefore, they think that we're all nuts.
Yeah. Well, look, the only thing that I really took from any of this or learned was this CIA asset Underhill, and what Underhill did, where he was going to say who killed him, and then he goes to New Jersey, and then after he goes to New Jersey, he's trying to get out of the country, but then they find him dead with a bullet, hole in the back of his head, which of course he didn't do himself. And so that was about the only other thing that that I really learned. Carl, what about you on this? Did you learn anything new? Was there anything that went, oh my God, that's so shocking? Because I didn't see it. Go ahead, Carl.
I wouldn't. I'm not sure where to look to find information in those. The whatever's been released.
Well, they were released all over X everywhere. I mean, the files were pretty much in every single spot you could find. I mean, they're everywhere. You could just Google JFK file release and you'll find, thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of PDF files.
Okay, I just listened to what you're talking about, on your when you're talking about the files.
Okay. All right. Well, last but not least, Glenn. No, I'm sorry, Liam and then Glenn. Liam, did you learn anything new at all from these files?
Likewise, you're not gonna like my answer. I mean, same with Carl. It's just I never really looked into it. I don't have a Twitter account, but I haven't really had the time to Google it. Now, what I will say, if you just want me to state my opinion, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's still some cover up going on. There's more info they can dig into to I'm sure the government's hiding stuff. So hopefully Pan Bondi and the rest of them will keep digging, get some more information out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then Glenn, did you learn anything new at all?
Well, the only thing that I did learn new was from you, and that was that CIA guy that supposedly shot himself in the back of the head. It's pretty impressive that somebody can do that. But nothing else really, because a long time ago, I think I spoke with you about it. It had to have been over 30 years ago. I watched a documentary by and it was just kind of like off the wall, but very believable. And it was more or less, giving the outline of Oswald's lifestyle and how he felt about Kennedy, about being in Russia, wanting, and everything. And that was years ago. And then when you spoke about it to anybody of what this guy was saying in his documentary, you were fucking nuts, And now here it all is. It's all like in black and white. Everything that guy was saying is there, except that I don't know if they're saying, anything about Oswald's life or anything like that in any of these files. But, leading all up to it. And then again, like Jeff was saying, here you are, you're a conspiracy theorist, and again, 100% right.
Well, I'll wrap up with what I think. If I was to make an educated guess, I think that, of course, you had a situation where JFK understood that there was a deep state. That's number one. He also was at odds with Alan Dulles, who was his CIA director. Remember, he fired him, okay? And after he fired him, he also gave that speech. And the speech was basically exposing to the American people that there is indeed a deep state. And in that speech, he says, I want to take I think he called it the administrative state or the secret state. I don't remember the words. It might have been secret state. And I want to smash them into 1,000 little pieces. Well, sadly, I think that the CIA saw that as a threat to them, their power, and instead they did that to his skull. Now, how did it happen from there? Well, here's where I think you can kind of fill in some of the blanks. I think that LBJ was not chosen by JFK. He was forced upon him, okay? And I think that pushing to have LBJ, an outright devout racist, onto the ticket with him because they thought it was going to help win, I guess, Texas and some other stuff. But remember, LBJ was from Texas and he was killed in Texas, which means to me that LBJ's people were working with the CIA and they knew the area. They decided on Dallas. And I believe that LBJ ordered the hit. I will say that publicly. I believe that LBJ ordered the assassination of JFK with the entire apparatus of the CIA and the intel community, putting it all together. And then, of course, you have Clifton Carter, who was his very close advisor and was the head of the DNC at the time, the executive director of the DNC. He hired a known hitman. This guy was a known hitman. He was in jail for years and everything else, and his name was Malcolm Mac Wallace. They hired him. Clifton Carter hired Malcolm Mac Wallace, who was an excellent shot, and he and possibly some other people in the CIA and others took shots and hit him in the head. This was not a lone gunman. This was not Lee Harvey Oswald. This was a CIA operation set forth by the Vice President LBJ at the time. And I would swear to that. I would bet billions of dollars if I had it on the fact that that is exactly what happened 62 years ago. So anyway, what about you, Marlene? Did you learn anything? Oh, you gotta mute everybody, huh?
I really haven't read a whole lot, but
Yeah,
I
I've
did
read a lot.
recently watch a video, and it was the
Yeah.
video of the doctor who was he was the doctor who had examined.
Right.
He
The
was
head wound
there.
and all that.
He was there, and I was just like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
It's graphic. I mean, there is some pretty graphic, especially the movie JFK from 1990. Oliver Stone's movie, very, very graphic. They show some pretty nasty stuff in that. But I would encourage people to look up Clifton Carter, Mac Wallace, LBJ, and then I would also look up Ruth and Michael Payne and Lee Harvey Oswald. I would do your research. I would do searches on those individuals in particular, and you will understand why I feel the way that I feel. So anyway, those are all my thoughts for this evening. Can't wait to hear all of yours. Stay with us for a little bit afterwards, and we'll tell you about the trip that Marlene had, and it was a lot of fun. Until next time, God bless, and we'll see you soon.